I switched over to a new track phone. In my area here, they're going from 3G to 4G, so people with consumer cellular phones and track phones have to switch to a new model. So I went up on Amazon, and they had some ridiculous price for the phone. Uh, Walmart supposedly had it in stock. I went over there, they didn't have it. I went back to track phone, and I started filling out the paperwork, and it says they'll sell me the phone for 10 bucks. Gave them my credit card number, and the phone arrived, and I've enabled it. It's on. But what I want to talk to you is about death scrolling. Death scrolling. What does it mean? Okay, now, while working with this phone, uh, I happened to look at a YouTube video, and the guy explained that he was downsizing from a full-size phone to a flip phone, just so he can get his life back in order. And a lot of people are doing the same thing. In other words, I won't say a lot, but there are people doing the same thing. They're trying to break their addiction to cell phones. Okay, the constant scrolling, the constant checking, and it's called death scrolling. In other words, you keep checking your social media to see if anybody's replied to any of your messages, or you may be on your computer death scrolling, and you're looking endlessly through data and YouTube videos. And I sort of do that, but I'm limiting the amount of time that I do that because I know it's an addiction. And mankind has all kinds of drug problems and all that. And if you watch these gurus, the people that try to tell you the answers to everything, a lot of them have a history of drug use. So their new drug is telling you how to operate your life or run your life, and they make money that way. I'm going to tell you straight out. You want to know why we're here, okay? And everybody says, well, what's the meaning of life? Why are we here? All right, first of all, you're here to multiply, just like fruit flies, just like birds. In the springtime, get a chair, sit outside, and watch the birds, mating dances. They build a nest, and they have a set of chicks, and then they get older and they fly away, and the next spring they do the cycle too. That's basically the meaning of life. Okay, that's why we're here, I should say, not the meaning of life. The meaning of life is what you make it. The meaning of life is different for each person. So if you got these people telling you what the meaning of life is, they're making money or they're up to something. Okay, I'm going to tell you, you have to decide what you like to do. Now, to use the word bliss. Bliss is when you're doing what you really like to do, but it's still a job, and you still could become addicted, and you could still be locked in. And the other thing too is they'll say you're not moving forward. Well, at some point you're not going to move forward. Okay, there's not going to be any forward to move to. All right, that's the other thing they don't tell you. Well, you're not moving forward in your life anymore. Exactly what does that mean? Now, whenever I approach moving forward or going to the next thing, but the next thing isn't really moving forward, I always reorganize my life, and that's what I've been doing. And I stay with it, and I'll sit on the internet and I'll look at different things, and I'll make a decision. I'll get up, I'll go into the big room of radios, I'll grab a bunch of stuff that I know I'm never going to use, and I'll throw it out. Now, the last several weeks, 100 pounds of garbage has come out and gone out of my garbage. Okay, and I have they only pick garbage up once a week, so whenever I'm cleaning anything out, it really makes it hard to get rid of the stuff because I'm limited to one totes, and that's what I've been working on. And that's not moving forward. That's getting organized. Okay, you know the movie You Can't Handle the Truth. Well, I've gotten to the level where I realize when I'm bullshitting myself, when I know I'm not going to get to something. Now, I told you the difference between me and a lot of other people is the things I own, I bought to run certain experiments, to see it work, and then I no longer have a use for it. Or I build things to see it work and to understand, and then I no longer need it. Well, other people, they buy stuff, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and they never do any of it. And they ask me questions. What do you think I should do with this? That's the whole game. See, they stay busy talking about what they're going to buy, what they're going to do with it, and they start buying stuff, and then it never happens. And I went to a yard sale yesterday, and it was two families, and it was unbelievable the stuff they had. And a lot of it was computer stuff that's no longer any good. And they have it in the original box. And it's sitting out there. And I was talking to them. They weren't that friendly. I was asking them questions about the people across the street from their house. People that I knew on this one street. And they didn't know. I said, "You don't know yet? Well, we don't associate with them. Or we have two neighbors over here and over here that we hang with. The rest of the neighborhood we don't know anything about." See, I like people. You learn something from every person you meet. I always kid and tell you sometimes it's what you learn is you should have kept walking. But in other words, people have changed. They're basically really self-centered. They're really stuck on their cell phones. And it hits them in degrees where I got too much stuff, I got to get rid of it. And then they buy more stuff. Okay? And that's what life sort of seems like with a lot of people. Now, there are people like myself that constantly question things. And people will say to me, "You think too much," you know, but they have all the answers that are all bullshit. Okay, and a couple of them, like this one guy, he kept bugging me when I first moved here. Uh, you're a fool for buying a house and blah blah. Well, he's 75 years old and he has to go to work every day, and he's living with a woman that's not his wife, and she's got her kids in there with them, and it's a nightmare. And he's basically renting a room from her, and he's living in one room, and he has to share spaces with other people, with another family, and he has to go to work every day. See, but I'm a fool for owning a house, and that's what it is. People seem to have all the answers until the end, towards the end. Then you start seeing how they really screwed up, because it's so much easier not to maintain a house and rent from somebody. But then comes the day where rents go up, what you're making isn't as much. You can't go to Social Security because you're not having enough money. So at some point you get old enough and you put in for Social Security and you still keep working. And then you realize you screwed up. Now, the one guy I power walk with, he got to be 50 years old, and he realized that renting was a joke. So he bought a house in this neighborhood here, and he owns it now. Okay? And it's one of his better moves. And most single people don't buy a house. And then they get older, and especially women, they're not going to make the amount of money they need to make, and they really end up in real trouble. The one woman that works at the dollar store, she's getting some type of assistance from the state in order to rent a hotel room, and she still goes to work every day. It's really messed up. But you got to ask yourself the tough questions. All right, and when you see these gurus on there on YouTube telling you this is that and this is about life, and go research their life and you'll see drug history. Okay, yeah, they have all the answers, but they just got off doing drugs. And the one guy, they had to put him to sleep for a week while they weaned him from one of the drugs that he got addicted to, and he's got all the answers for you. I'm going to tell you right again why we're here. Okay, you can get all into those religious stuff, but the real honest truth is you're no different than a fruit fly or a bird or a turtle or a fish. Okay, you're here to multiply. Now, what makes man different than the other animals, you think about things and you create stories and the myths, and you make the world more complicated, and the other animals just do their thing. And all animals, if they don't keep evolving, that bloodline or genetics dies out. Where mankind might have hit its end. Okay, man might have hit. It might be this. There's no moving forward anymore. If you watch the cell phones, they got all these features on the cell phone. They make the screen wider, or it won't break as easily, or more battery life. But in the end, it's still a cell phone. Now, I bumped into this guy that decided to go back to a flip phone just so he could get those hours back that he was wasting death scrolling. Okay? And I was laughing because I had never heard the term death scrolling, but I do it. When I was in New Jersey, towards the end there before I moved, I used to tell the guys at the Lucky 7, which was a liquor store across the street, I go across there to get my Pepsi and my donuts and my candies. And I would tell them, and they said, what do you do over there all day long? I said, well, I finished the last booklet that I'm on right now. I say basically stare into space for several hours at a time, trying to come up with a new idea of something to build or design. And they go, what do you mean? I said, I just stare. I'm being honest with you. Okay? You know, you could sit there and eat and say, so well, I ate this thing, or I ate that, or I went here, or I went there. But it comes down to uh, you try to move forward. All right? Now, at some point, you can't move forward anymore. And they was like, well, you can always move forward. Yeah, you can. The rich people, they buy one house, two houses, three houses, then they start buying industrial property, and it becomes the adrenaline of the deal of buying stuff. And then when they're laying there dying, and I know several of these guys that were very wealthy, and they have no answer either, and they got sucked into buying things and reselling them, or just buying stuff and keeping it. And I own this, I own that, I own this. And there's a lot of big fables about rich people and how they trap themselves. We all trap ourselves one way or another. Now, I tell you honestly all the time that my things are old radios. Now, there's my new track phone, and there's a radio. I built another power supply for back of a command radio. It's finished, it works. There's the other one sitting back there. And that's the thing I do. But what I do differently now is you can see the closet's starting to get organized. The big room of radios is becoming organized. I got it under control now. Okay. Before, every week I was buying another radio and repairing it, restoring it. Okay. Now, if you go on YouTube, there's a guy, and I just have, you know, they recommend a video, and the guy pulls in a new car, and he's saying, I got this car for X amount of dollars. It sat in a barn, and he's all excited. I'm going to do this. In the background, you can see the whole area is nothing but old cars. And then I went back and looked at his videos, and his big video is he pulls a car onto his property, and he tells you what a great deal he's getting. He's not going to do any of it. Okay? At some point, someone's going to come and say, look, you need to get all these cars off this property. Oh, I'm going to do. You're not going to do any of that stuff. And he's a hoarder. He's a car hoarder. And his videos are, look at what I got. I got a good deal. That's because people constantly throw things out. And you think you're getting a good deal, but basically the other person knows what's wrong with the car. They don't want it anymore. And you consider it a good deal because that's what turns you on. But you're going to come to a screeching dead end. It's going to cost you money. You're going to have problems. And car hoarders never work on cars. They talk about them. I got this. I just got that. I got one of those. Nothing gets done. I grew up around these people, and I'm going to be 70 in a few more months. And all the stuff that they were going to do, they never did any of it. Now, like I tell you, I did everything I wanted to do. And now I've hit a dead end. Now they hit the dead end because they never started on anything. And they're realizing it. Oh man, I got too much stuff. And you try to get rid of it, and you realize you're the last person on earth that actually wants the stuff. Now, I could put stuff on eBay, but it's a lot of hassle for me to ship something on eBay just to get rid of it. And I'm not going to break even. I found that out with the R71As. You buy one broken for $250. And the dream is to fix it and get it working. But that's what it is. It's a dream. All right. And nobody really fixes it. Now, I was fixing it. I was helping people. I was selling the parts to it. I made sure I took everything off my website because I still got people, could you help me repair my radio? There's nobody left that wants to fix them. There's the clue. Nobody's left to fix them because there's no money in it. They're really hard to fix. Okay? And that's the stuff that I found annoying. So I start deleting stuff. And like I said, I got rid of my 700 YouTube videos because reality catches up with you. You realize that all people want to do is ask you questions. And a lot of them don't come back for the answer. That's the other thing. They're death scrolling. Oh, I'll ask this guy that. I'm going to get to that. Yeah, I'm going to get it done. And they ask you a question and you answer them. You just wasted your time. Okay? Because when you do answer them, they might come up with another question, and after 2 days of them trying, they're going to give up, and you've just wasted 2 days of answering someone. Because in order to troubleshoot a radio, you have to have basic skills, uh, and you got to be able to solder. You got to be able to put the wire in the right place, remove the part and put it back in the right place. People don't have these skills. You know, they take a part out of a radio and they put the new one in the wrong spot. I went through all this. I had these radios dropped off at my house. People saying it's got to be something simple, and then you get in there and you see where they've been in the radio, and you undo it, and then they argue with you. You got the radio working, now they're going to argue with you. That's the thing at the end that really pissed me off, was when you give someone the solution and that you show them that it is the solution, they stand there and argue with them. And then you're saying to yourself, how stupid is this guy? How crazy, really? Well, then you start realizing that 50%, it's actually more, but I'm being generous, 50% of people are totally stupid. Okay? They mix their facts up. Everybody misspeaks. Everybody remembers it, but they're bad on everything. You know, the one person in the dollar store, she kept telling me the big hospital was closing. It was a little religious hospital was closing, but she kept saying the big one was closing. And I said, I went home and I looked it up, and she was wrong. She's wrong about everything. You just smile and nod, smile and nod. I don't stand there and try to help people and correct them anymore. It's a waste of time. You're only going to upset them, you know. And that's what I'm like that now. And the saddest thing is, every night I go outside and I sit outside around 6 o'clock, and some of the neighbors come over and we stand there and we talk about our day. It's funny stuff. But in other words, there's other people orbiting the neighborhood, and they're on the phone. They're on the cell phone scrolling. They're death scrolling as they're circling the neighborhood. But at least they're getting some exercise. And some of them I know, and I have to actually break their thought. So they look up and they go, "Oh, John, oh, I'm over here." It's a hilarious stuff. But I just want to tell you, the word is death scrolling. And I have that habit, and I admit to my habit. See, other people go, "No, I'm not addicted to my computer." Blah, 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 blah. And then they are. They lie. You know, that's how you get great gas mileage. You go to a party, and everybody's talking about how good their gas mileage is. You know, and just add 5 gallons to your 5 miles to your gallon when you're at the party. And when someone says, I get 35. You only get 30, but add 5 to it. How are they going to prove it? They're going to borrow your car, put a full tank of gas in, go driving around. And then there's the other people that when you go on a trip, like you're going to the party and it's in another state, and you arrive there, and they tell you it only took them an hour to get there. And you go home and you look at the map, and with a Cessna or an airplane, you couldn't get it there in an hour. It's pretty funny stuff how people are. You know, they don't just exaggerate a little bit, they exaggerate a lot. And you're standing there, it took me 3 hours to get here. 3 hours? You're crazy. I said I was breaking the speed limit the whole way. It took me, well, you must have went a different way. No, I didn't go a different way. I went the way they told me. It took 3 hours. But that's the things in life that, you know, when you deal with other people, and they're going to get to this, oh, I got one of those. And a lot of the stuff they have is no longer current. Like, oh, I have this computer, and I just bought the best. And I knew this one guy, he had a crush on this girl, and he wanted to get on the internet so he could communicate with her. And he bought this really expensive computer. And he kept bragging about it. He never turned it on. I'm going to tell you, he never turned it on. Someone else came over and showed him. It was too complicated for him, and he didn't want to talk about the computer anymore. It was above him. And I just said to him, you know, there's more than one switch. A lot of people just turn the computer on, and they forget to turn the monitor on. He was just giving me a look like, it's a lot harder than I thought it would be. But for days he was bragging he spent $3,000 for a computer. Now what he did was he bought a $1,000 computer for $3,000 because he didn't know what he was doing. And it never got used. All right. And at one point, after 2 or 3 years, he started asking me, was I interested in buying it? I said, you know, computer ages faster than a dog. What do you mean? I said, well, when a computer is a year old, it's old. Well, it's brand new. I paid $3,000. Keep saying it's only a year old. Keep saying you paid $3,000. That'll work real well. That's like the one guy one time called me up. And he was really pushing me to help him sell his television set. And he gave me the model. I said, that's a tube set. It's 25 years old. Yeah, but when I bought it, it was an $800 TV. And this guy said, listen to me, it's 25 years old. It's a tube set. Nobody wants it. Well, it's got a remote control. It's got this. I just put a new picture tube in it. Well, you just made the biggest mistake of your life. Putting a brand new picture tube in a television set that's 25 years old is a move that you just told me how stupid you really are. Now you're trying to sell it and you want the money for it because you were stupid. And you want what you want for it when really nobody even wants it. So I made believe I took his name and phone number, and because he had called me, and then I never called him back. I was like, I wouldn't even tell anybody. Yeah, this guy, he wants $400 for a 25-year-old television set. Oh, they're out there. Oh, they are out there. And what I learned to do is keep quiet. And a lot of times now, I'll look down at my watch. I have a watch that hangs on my belt. It's upside down. It's called a clip watch. And I'll pick that up and look at, oh, I got to be somewhere. And I got to go. And if they question where I have to go, I got to go. I don't answer them. Okay? One guy told me, he says, stop answering to other people. You have a life. It's your life. You don't have to get involved. And that's what I do. And people are like so amazed now. And I tell people, I said, yeah, the only thing you're going to get from me is I walk around and I clean the neighborhood. Okay? The tide floats all boats. In other words, if I walk around and keep the neighborhood clean, it looks nice. And everybody gets to live in a neighborhood that looks nice and clean. That's all I got left for people. And when they start talking to me, I said, look, I'm going to be 70. Well, 70 is not old. Yes, it is old. And I'm feeling it. Every day I feel old. Okay, I got all these little problems wrong with my body now. And, you know, they're going to tell me I'm not that old because they want something. And I caught on to all this stuff, you know. Well, how do you do this or how do you do that? And they want stuff. And that's why they're talking to you. And a lot of people, when they're busy, and I'll wave to them and start talking, they got to go. But when they want something, it's the complete opposite. You can't get rid of them. But I caught on to all this. I told you in the last video, in life, you keep making the same mistake over and over and over until you learn the lesson. And it's really mean to be cruel to people. But in other words, they're in their little life. They're in their little zone. They're not going to step out of their zone and help you. So why are you helping them? And I used to say, well, it's the right thing to do. That was bullshit. Oh, boy, was that bullshit. It's like yesterday, I'm at that yard sale, and they got all this crap. And I just asked them about a couple of people in the neighborhood. They didn't know them. They don't want to know them. Okay? They bought a house in a nice neighborhood, and they don't want to know who the neighbors are. And I'm like, man, this is not the kind of person. But they were younger, and I said to myself, you know, just leave. This stuff is garbage. They got all computer stuff, and they're the type of people that keep the original box. So when you see it sitting there, you go, wow, look at that. And then you look at the date on it, or for Windows 7 or for XP. You know, it's hilarious stuff. But I just want to tell you about death scrolling. And I know if you see this video, you're probably a death scroller. And you do all this stuff to kill time, to keep yourself from looking at reality. And like I said, that one movie, you can't handle the truth. I can. And you get anxiety when you realize that why you're doing certain things. And the best I laugh at now are these gurus. And if you follow what they tell you, you're basically brainwashing yourself. And you're going to do this system. And you're going to get ahead. You're going to make money. Yes. But in the end, will you be happy? Okay? And then, like I said, before you listen to anybody's advice, and I want to tell you, I don't do drugs. I don't smoke. I don't drink. My thing, though, is chocolate. I like chocolate. But research the person you're listening to. You know, it's like that guy, My Pillow. He was a real serious drug addict. And now he's trying to tell everybody else what they should be doing. That's laughable. Okay? Laughable. And that's this. What's the source? You know, the two old ladies in RCA that used to do the time to put the tubes up, take the tubes down. They used to say, you have to look at where that information's coming from. You know, the person themselves. Are they a screw-up? And some screw-ups really sound with information. They have all these phrases that they say to you. They've memorized these phrases, and they sound really smart. But you look at the person themselves, and they're a fuck-up. And it's so funny, you know, when you first meet a group of people, to figure out who the smarter people are and who the fuck ups are. And the people, you know what they say, the empty drum rattles, what is it, empty drum rattles the loudest? Or, but anyway, uh, they have really nothing but these phrases. And that's why they always say to you, first impressions are so important. They're really not. Okay? A first impression can be really, really wrong. You meet the person, they sound really smart, they tell you they know how to do everything, and then you hire them and you find out they're a fuck up. Okay? But they knew all the answers to tell you, so you would hire them. And I worked with a lot of different people. And the really smarter people were fairly meek. I'm more of a self promoter. I jump in there when there's a problem. I want to get into something where I know everybody else was just looking at it. They don't want to touch it. I jump in there knowing it used to work and now it doesn't work. So feasibly, it's possible that I can fix it and get it to work. And that's it. And that was the thing my teacher in tech school, he pointed that out to the class that he said Kleinbauer is not afraid to try. You got nothing really to lose trying except like defusing a bomb or something like that. But in other words, you lose, you lose. The people standing around that aren't going to try, they're going to be the first ones. All right, couldn't fix it, huh? But they're fuck ups. Okay, don't let them bother you. That's like I took the videos down because I wasn't going to give them a forum to vent their frustrations on life. You know, you're wrong about this. You're wrong. I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to argue. You know, command radio. There's a power supply in the back, custom, drops right in there. You can lift that off and put it on another one. Okay, the people that were making comments to me didn't build anything. Well, I have this. I have that. I'm going to get this. No, you're not. You're not going to get it. You might have this. You might have that. But it's probably sitting down in the cellar. It's probably all rusty. You remember how it used to look when you first got it, but when you go get it out of the box that's been sitting in the puddle of water, you're going to realize it's not what you brought home. And these command radios have to be recapped. And those guys, nah, my radio works just fine. Well, when the caps are leaky, you get less gain. Yeah, it'll pick up stations, but it won't work as good as if you recap it. And I've taken 4 command radios so far I've done. And as I'm doing them, I'm checking each one of those, you call them a bathtub capacitor or a flower pot capacitor, and they're leaky. And one of them was so leaky, the oscillator would only go halfway up the scale and it would cut out. That's because the tube didn't have enough gain to oscillate on the higher frequencies because the capacitor was leaky. As soon as I rebuilt that capacitor, the oscillator went its full scale. Okay, I do the work. And now I'm looking for the next big thing I want to work on. And that's where I'm at this point. Now, like I said, I learn something every day, Deathscrolling. I hang out with the guys putting the cable and the fiber optics in the neighborhood. The box they put in the ground now, it's a plastic box with junction box. That's called a vault. And the big green ones that sit on top of the neighborhood, some people got them on our front lawn. It's called a node, and it's pretty funny. These guys come, it'll be yesterday, what's it, the day before yesterday, Friday, and they're walking up and down. I walk over, I go, what's going on? So they go, this map says there's a telephone pole. I said, oh yeah, it's up that way. You're going the wrong way. No, I said, no, the pole is up at the other end. So I said, there were guys here yesterday that ran, I told them where they ran the wires between the vaults and then to a node. And I'm pointing up the street. These guys are going the wrong way. So now the guy turns the map around. Oh, funny. And I said, yeah, the pole's up this way. So he turns the map around. Now it all makes sense. So I went in the house and I dropped off my stuff that I bought. And I went back out and they go, yeah, you were right, it's up here. And they had to dig a trench between a node and a vault and run one lot wire. And I'm like, why didn't they do that? Well, that's a different group. Okay, the one group runs the fiber optics or the main RF line uh, into these tunnels, these sleeves that they put in the ground. And each guy has his own different thing. So you see one guy one day, they're just pushing the wires through. And then the next day, a different set of guys comes and hooks it up. Now these guys do a digging 18 inches down by hand between the node and the vault. And it was pretty funny stuff. And the one guy, a paper wasp, just kept attacking him. And at one point, I said, kill it. It landed. I said, kill it. Don't hesitate. Kill it. Well, he didn't. And then finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I had to walk away because that thing kept going around his ears. And I said, you should have never swatted it. And it also could be he's got some type of aftershave on or something, and it's being attracted to him. Or he had a bright yellow shirt on. I don't know. But I told him when I did landscaping, I learned not to swat any flies. You know, they sting you, they sting you. Very rare. But if you start swatting them, they're just going to keep annoying you. And I worked this one company. I had to do landscaping, and then I had to clean it out. But that thing was infested with wasps, and I never had a problem. Never got stung. They would land on me, but then they'd take back off. And once in a while, I'd flick one off me. You know, I'd flick it with my finger, and you know, it would go down on the ground, and I'd step on it. Okay, it went a little too far, and it crossed the line with me, and I would kill it. But for the most part, I let the things be because they were at that factory a lot longer than I was, and yeah, I learned. But this guy he couldn't work right because this thing kept circling him, and at one point I said, wait till it lands and kill it, and he just hesitated, and I'm like, forget it, and I had to go at that point. I'm like, man, that was a stupid move. I don't know whether he felt bad killing it. I don't want to know. But I think that's it. All right, that's it. And death scrolling.